I want to start today's show with a disclaimer. I want to start this conversation with a disclaimer. I don't have the mental bandwidth to fret about ACC basketball in November. Hell, you can throw December into that statement as well if you want to. However, November isn't early enough to start keeping track of some things if you want to start kind of creating some things to watch as we get into the college basketball season, which kind of started in earnest last night with the Champions Classic. Early returns indicate a repeat of last season's metrics-killing baseline that was made in November and December in these non-conference games with some bad losses. FSU and Louisville have started the season 0-3. Syracuse lost to Colgate. I think it was like last night or the night before. And if you look at KenPom, Giglio, it's early, but the ACC is ranked 5th overall in their predictive measurement. You'll hear a lot of KenPom from here on out, from here until the Final Four. Again, it's early, but it's actually something that Mike Krzyzewski talked about a lot last year when we were discussing how many teams would the ACC get into the NCAA tournament. Well, when you have some bad losses early on, it's tough to get the metrics back in your favor. And then when you get into conference play, it's just bad numbers feeding bad numbers, and that's how you set it now. You can make life difficult for yourself as a conference with some of these losses and the metrics that are based off of it.
It's been a slow start. There's no doubt for the ACC. And I am not fretting about North Carolina, but I am interested in some of the comments that Hubert Davis made last night after his team's win over Gardner-Webb. It's 72-66. Now, you're going to laugh at this part when I make this point, and I understand that. Carolina is 0-3 against the number this year, the spread.
Okay.
So when you're number one and you're playing UNC Wilmington, Charleston, and Gardner-Webb,
yeah,
you should blast those teams.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They have not done that. And sure, you could sit there and go, well, that doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look at last night's game and then a 6-point game against Gardner-Webb, then when you hear Hubert Davis, and Dennis Cox is going to play the clip for us, this clip about the JV team and his comments about how when he coached the JV team and how he recently saw an Instagram post that Jackie Manuel put up about a win by the JV team. There are some layers to this comment in Game 3 where we like to say on this program the standard is the standard. Carolina has a standard.
They do.
Hubert Davis has a standard.
They do.
So while I say to you almost like half jokingly they haven't covered, the number from Vegas is basically them, Vegas, an independent source, saying this is how we expect you to beat these teams, and you haven't lived up to that standard, which, of course, in this instance, coincides with Hubert Davis' standard.
So here's Hubert Davis, North Carolina head basketball coach, after they never really dominated Gardner-Webb last night, and there were some things to kind of look at that you might be excited about, like Pete Nance. Pete Nance had a good game, 16 of his 18 points in the first half, but here are not the red flags, but the yellow flags Hubert Davis saw.
And I don't think there's a red flag in terms of our team. I think there's some yellow flags. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of our toughness. I think there's yellow flags in terms of our sustained effort. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of our commitment to defense. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of our commitment to the scouting report and doing the things that you've been asked to do. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of getting to the offensive glass, and I think there's some yellow flags in terms of sharing the basketball in terms of good to great.
So that's Hubert Davis, head coach North Carolina basketball last night after, again, a win over Gardner-Webb. And to Giglio's point, they have not been throttling people, and that's kind of an expectation for a team that's going to be a true title contender, the number one team in the AP Top 25. And you talk about the standard a lot when it comes to Carolina basketball. I think most Carolina basketball fans understand what that standard is. If you are positioned as a team to go out there and win it, like other Carolina teams, there is a way that you should kind of go about it. You look at the 05 squad under Roy Williams. I actually point to the 09 squad more than anything else.
Not every horse can be Secretariat. I mean, that 09 team just obliterated people.
But I do think there's a similarity in the attitude that Hubert Davis is now alluding to, and we'll get to that JV quote in a second. Roy Williams, going from 08 to 09, they had a tough out in the NCAA tournament, didn't achieve what they wanted to do, and there's no way that Tyler Hansbrough, one of the greatest Carolina basketball players ever, was going to walk out of there without at least getting to the Final Four, right? I mean, gotta be positioned for a title. But that was a loaded squad that had NBA talent on it. And Roy Williams was like, if we're going to do this, if you're going to come back, we're going to freaking do this. There's going to be no conversations about NBA draft, my minutes, your minutes, who's going to look good and everything else. It was commitment to what the goal was. And what was that goal?
Win the whole thing.
Win the whole damn thing. And they throttled teams. To your point, yes, that is one of the all-time great Carolina squads we've ever seen. So let's go to 16-17, which was, I think, more similar to the redemption arc that people wanted to build for this squad. That team was special in the Roy Williams sense that these guys had gone through the junk, as Roy Williams likes to say. They had their hearts ripped out by Villanova in 16, and they wanted to get back to that spot and win the whole damn thing, which they did. Mission accomplished. This Carolina squad is different, because I don't know if the hunger is the same as that 16-17, because what was last year really about? Yes, they got to the championship game. Yes, they might have almost won the whole damn thing, but they lost to Clemson, or to Kansas. But they had a book written about them. And I'm not trying to take money off the plate of Adam Lucas, okay? Props to you, dude. Write your books. Carolina fans will buy it. But it's not very often that a team that doesn't win a championship gets a glowing book the way that team did. And I do wonder, something that we talked about, how last year was a mission accomplished in a different way. You ruined Duke's year. You ruined Mike Krzyzewski's farewell tour, right? And that run, that real run, started when they went into Cameron Indoor Stadium and fed off the fact that everybody counted them out. There's no way this is going to happen. How is Duke going to lose this game? And they ruined the party, and the rest is history. And then they literally ended Coach K's career. So all of that was kind of taken of like a team that got hot at the right time and the chemistry finally clicked to, well, they're going to keep doing it. That's difficult to do, man. That's a difficult mindset to put yourself in. And I think that's what Hubert Davis might be referencing now.
Well, especially when you have to replace a key piece like Brady Manick.
Yes. And that's where we get to the JV quote, which I know you brought up and is interesting as well. And here is Hubert Davis. For those who don't, why this matters, Hubert Davis was the head coach of the JV squad as he was an assistant at Carolina, and that was really his college head coaching experience before he finally got the job to replace Roy Williams. Here's what he had to say.
9 years as an assistant with Coach Williams, 7 of the years I was the JV coach. And I told the team that was really the birth of me having a passion to be a head coach. And the reason being is being around the JV team, there was no noise. Nobody on the JV team was thinking about entering the draft. Nobody on the JV team was thinking about their NIL deals. I didn't have one meeting, one call, one text, one tweet from a parent talking about roll, shots, minutes. It wasn't anything. All the JV guys, the only thing that was on their mind was they couldn't believe that they were a part of this program, that they could put on that uniform, and every day that they could practice and play on the place where the varsity was. It was just pure. And so I told the team, what's the difference between the JV and you guys? The only difference is naturally you've been gifted more than them. But other than that, what is the change?
That's Hubert Davis, head coach North Carolina last night after a win against Gardner-Webb. Interesting things to say, wouldn't you say?
The NIL component in particular. I mean, the landscape in college has changed.
It has.
And again, we're seeing that already in college basketball. Just wait in college football and how it changes next season.